Hello, everybody. Okay, I've been asked a number of times to do this again. This is a seascape. We want to get the feeling of all of this sort of rough water over here and get a good feeling of water coming into the shore. I'm just going to probably throw some rocks in here. This is dead. It's a terrible photograph, but we're going to try to liven it up a little bit. So we'll just put it over here and we'll get going in a second. So what I really want to do here is to try to get a real loose painting going. And what we've got is, I got this background over here that goes from side to side, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually come in here and I'm going to end up probably putting in something that's comes over here and ends about here. So this is going to be land in the background a bit, and my huge waves are going to be sort of something. It's all this white water stuff that's going to come in here, and it's going to be crawling and crawling up. Now we've got so that you understand what's going on here. We've got an angle that's we want to take care of, because this is not coming in at us directly, but at a slight angle. So this is going to go back. And notice I'm just sort of roughing this in right here. It's going to come up here, and I got this white water that's coming down, and right about here is where my wave's going to break. This is a stormy sea, man. This is all right, and then it's going to sort of come down, and it's going to be washed out over here. So we're going to end up having some water come in at this angle. So we've got this sort of turn, and water's washing up. Washing up this way. Okay, so all that being said, there's some breaking waves in the background. Just about, if we go back here, just about in this area here, and we'll rush those in. All right, and we're going to end up doing something like this, and we've got a little bit of a slight area where waves are breaking back here as well. All right, spraying up a bit here and there, and my landmass back here probably will throw I'm seeing a couple of homes, so I don't know if I'll draw them in. I'm not sure if I'm going to even get them in. This is basically, I've used this subject matter, this area in the past for Plymouth Beach and so forth, this rocky hill. And there's, a couple of small buildings, outcrop buildings, homes that are in here. Nothing major. And maybe because this goes on forever, maybe we'll just pretend that there's a lighthouse at the end here, something like that. I'm not too sure. Okay, whether we get it in or not, I'm not. That's another thing. The main thing is all of this stuff. And what I want to do, actually, the real test here is to do this loose, super loose. So that's what I'm going to shoot for anyway. And here's my drawing, and what I'm going to do is wet the area, and I'm going to run my value in here, and then sort of let the water drip down. Now I've got to put this on a board so I can tilt it and turn it. So I will do that right now, and then I will be back. So I'm using one 40-pound Strathmore, 100% rag content. Neutral pH, paper, and I think we usually use this or something close to this when I'm doing my demos for you. Let's get this thing centered over here, and I'm going to put this back in here. We need to get this refocused. So let me put this back in here and see if we can. The camera will just pick up that strong piece. Good. So that should focus it in a little bit better. Put this up here, and let me add a few things here. We probably am going to do maybe some rocks in here. And again, it's Plymouth Beach, and we've got a lot of water. So it's a misty day, a foggy day. We'll wet the whole thing. I'm going to start to spray this and get a feel for where I want to put my water. And where's my round brush? And we'll come in here. And it's going to be a gray day. So what I'm doing is I'm mixing up. I got crap on my palette actually. It's just a mixture of, it's grays, a lot of stuff like cobalt blue. Here, let me just show you. Basically, it's just a mixture of cobalt blue and burnt sienna and some other of these colors in here to get me that gray effect. And I want a gray sky, and I want this to be very wet. And we're going to just continue to spray this as we put it down and allow this paint to sort of run where it wants to run. And a little bit of gray there, and then we're just going to add a little bit of blue in here. And again, what we'll do is, so we can get this feeling, I'm going to sort of turn this. I'm going to make this thing run a little bit. And it's going to come down into this area here. It'll go across here. I'm tilting it so that it runs up at the corners. And then maybe down a bit. And what I want to do is get it a little bit darker in this area here. And again, I'm sort of letting this guy run, and I'm going to just basically come in here and just do a little bit more color in these areas with some clear water, maybe a little bit of blue and a little bit of cobalt blue here. Let me just say, and just a little bit of opera. And again, the way I see this coming down is this is a we've got some value over here, value in that color value. We'll change it up a bit, and I'm going back to my color, my spray. And if you can take a look at what I'm doing, I'm just holding this up right now. Let me get it over a little bit more for you. Yeah, it's probably a little bit out of focus, but I'm going to come in here and I want to spray this so it comes up a bit. And so I want to soften that down a bit. And add a little bit more of my blue-green right where this is here, because I'm going to end up adding a little bit of my wave breaking over here. It's very wet, and we're going to end up coming down here, and I'm going to deal with white water down here. So again, that white water is never white, never white, never white. But this is so light that we're just going to end up sort of working this all out. You know, you got a natural gradation process here from the sky coming down here into the area where it's sprayed up. I got to spray this coming up into the sky. And whiter water in here, whiter water in here. Okay, and this is going to be a little bit darker over here. This will be, stop that out a little bit more. What is this crap? It's probably from my, get out of there. All right, so this is very watery, very light. Let's get in here and we'll get some clear water. I'll just spray this. Actually, what I'm going to do is just bring it over here, put this back into the center of the piece, and we're just going to start to spray this down, and I'm going to fill it up with a little bit more value here as my water comes in on the rocks and around here and down. It's going to pick up a little bit of the sand underneath, so we'll just add a little bit of warmth to that in this area. And over here we're going to end up probably bringing some rocks in to this area here, and maybe a bit more. I think what we want to do is to get this nice feeling of warmth in here. Rock wise, we'll end up doing something. Oh, right now it's just like a cool to warm kind of situation. I'm not trying for anything other than just basically to get a general overall feel. This is all going to be darker in here, all of that. And I'm going to start to put that in with a little bit more substance, a little bit more pigment, a little bit stronger pigment. So if it's going to be our background, I want this probably a little bit more stronger pigment in here. I'm going to mix my blue with my a little bit of blue with my New Gamboge, and then add a little bit of burnt sienna in here to get it more olive color, and then probably bring up a little bit warmer color, and then add a little bit of cobalt blue as well as cerulean, not cobalt blue, but French ultramarine blue to it, and take a look at maybe running some colors in here. This is my landmass coming out there. We'll do this a little bit more, add a little bit more of my blue, and my blue with my opera, and come in here at the end so it's darker. Notice how loose it is. It's all wet right now. But just adding a little bit more pigment in here. little splotchiness here and there. I don't know if that'll work. We'll see what happens. Coming back in here, a little darker, a little heavier blue. Now remember, this is a little bit different than we painted before. This is really going to be a very free-flowing, extremely free-flowing kind of a painting. I don't want to get into structure in this one so much as I want to give you the feeling that I'm going to turn this over right now. I'm going to help this. I'm going to help this down a little bit. So I'm going to just sort of bend it up a little bit so you can see it. But I want to bring this a little. I want to make this a little bit softer. There you go. So what I'm shooting for is some of that sky area coming down in here to the foreground. A little bit of water. Let's do the same thing with this here, because and let it just run. We'll see where it goes. This may turn out to be a totally different painting. But it's very wet. And we're going to let it sort of just go. Now what I'm going to do here is try to dry this off a little bit too. So I'll go back and pick up some clean tissue. And again, the water should only flow where it's wet. And so in order to pick up just want to touch and pick some of this stuff up a little bit more so that it's not flowing in here. So we're seeing a difference. Again, the day is overcast, so we'll probably build this up as we go along. And I'm not sure we can do this, but just out of curiosity, let's see what happens if I come in here now. Oh, I know. I'm just putting some heavy pigment in here. Actually with a palette knife. Just to get me a dark base. I don't want to do the whole thing, but I'm trying out, this is experimental, I'm trying out different things. Remember, you can paint with a lot of stuff other than just a brush. So again, if we take this, which has been put in here fairly dark, and we add, well, not quite ready for this yet. We're going to do some spattering of blue in here pretty soon. But what did I just do with it? So, let's take a look at my squirt bottle again, and maybe we can get this to flow down a bit. Let it blend together. And my rocks. Right here, a couple in here. We'll see where all of this goes in a bit. And this is going to be one of those paintings, I think, from your perspective, that it's going to be probably very difficult to do, because it's totally abstract. And maybe you'll just sit down and just watch what's going on, because for me it's going to be experimental too. We don't really know what's happening. We don't know what's going on. We're just looking for a nice guide to give me a start, to tell me where I'm going with this painting. I'm using the painting to tell me how I want to paint it, or how I should paint it. Okay, so that being said, it's very free-flowing. And, well, you know, maybe we'll get something that's decent out of it. I'm not sure. Now, generally speaking, underneath, when the waves break, there's a lot of shadows under here. And I'm just going to come in here and just sort of going to start to put some of that shadow stuff in here, in these waves. All right, so this is sort of the underside, and that's going to be the top side. And this here is curling over here, so we just want to make sure this should be dry enough now for me just to softly feather this stuff in. Well, let's see. Okay, and again, where that goes. We've got some dark areas out here as well. So and right. All right. Dark. Dark. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this, whether or not it's going to come out okay. I should hopefully be good, but we'll see. Now, I got to point something out here, because you can see what's happening right here. See this area right here? I destroyed the integrity of the paper. See this line on this line? When I used that palette knife, I actually sort of ripped the paper up a little bit. So we're going to have to take and modify that. We'll use it to our benefit. They're rocks, so we'll just add some more stuff in there to make it happen. But you've got to be very careful when you do this, because you can destroy the integrity of the paper very easily. Let's just add some fill here, some really nice pigment, and do the same thing with this here. All right. So we'll just do this right now, because these are going to be rocks, so it doesn't really make any difference. All we care about is that there's a couple of things that are in there. So if this is sort of slowly, waves is crashing in there, we've got these sort of abstract rocks that are going on here. Maybe we'll bring it down a little bit more here. And we'll have the water. We'll ask the water to come in this way. So let's get that nice and light, and then in over here, so it's sort of coming in through here, it's filtering in, running in, whatever, on either side of those rocks. And we'll put a few more in there, a few more others in there as well. But right now I'm really super interested in getting some less water and a lot of more pigment on my brush. So that we can, it's still too wet, see that? Well, maybe the painting, you know what, it's probably not the pigment so much as it is the water that I've been working with here. Right, that's cool. Much better. All right. And once that sets up, we should be okay. Hoping that this light misty area right here comes out pretty good. We're going to make this a little darker back here. As it dries, we'll just tackle that a little bit more. I think what I want to do is to use these rocks here. Maybe come in a little bit more with a. Maybe come in a little bit more with that darker area here. Maybe we'll bring this stuff down. This is all light over here, so maybe what we're going to do is we're going to make this a little bit more interesting, a little darker. And it'll be a bit vignetted. Want this to be so dark there, and it's going to be my wave's going to break dark over here. So this area here is very critical. So we're going to do some dark to accent this over here. Make that dark there. All right. So we get that nice strong dark over here to help this out. And as this dries out a little bit more, let's see if we can see where we're at with some of this stuff over here. Real dark. Start putting in some darker pigment. Back on this area here. We're still dealing with some real strong wet areas, but that's all right. Again, burnt sienna is added to this, and well, again, nice strong. Nice strong darks over there. Oops, excuse me. Well, I don't think we're going to get rid of that unless I put some real, let that dry. Those lines are not too attractive, but that's what I get for trying out something too soon. Darken this up a bit. So we're super wet. Working with clean tissue. Actually working with, I want to get a real fine spray bottle. Do I have one? I don't think so. I'll have to try to use this. This is not really a misting bottle. But we'll make it work out. We'll just play around with this stuff and we'll make it work. Alright, so now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start I want to create a little bit more form to some of these things over here. And I think what we're going to do is going to make all of this bring this right down. Let's get that wide brush. A wider brush on me here. And just bring this right down. I think what I'm going to do is just bring this right down. A series of rocks that are over here, because these are all going to be rocks anyway. And create some water in here and okay. So you're doing something like that, something like this. So let's see if we can go back over here, take some fresh water, and maybe get a couple of highlights in here. Okay. A little bit of fresh water there. And maybe, oh, we got a little bit of some stuff that's out here somewhere. Slight area. All right. And if I can, we'll bring that in there. Let's just add a little bit of water in here. I'll put a little highlight that's right in this area here, where my landmass is coming in. And all right. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just come over here and see if I can cover this a bit. All right, so this is all wet. I'm going to have to let it dry, so I'm going to just give it about, give it a few minutes. And we'll keep working on putting some color in, some values in. And we can maybe even bring what I've got right now is I've got a colored pencil in here. This happens to be ivory black, but let's just take a couple of these watercolor. These are watercolor pencils, not just regular pencils. So not regular color pencils; they're watercolor pencils, and this is how they react to water. So if I want to form some crevices in this, I can actually do it with this stuff here, or I can do it with a paintbrush. But I'm just going in here just to see whether or not I can help those lines out here with my watercolor pencils. So we've got some interesting, whoops, whoa, well, it's in there, so I'm not going to be able to do much with that. This is my brown. As I said, we're dealing with experimental work, experimental program here where we're doing some interesting formations. These are rocks, crevices. I don't know if you guys have ever worked with watercolor pencils. If you have, then as soon as if you take a little, if you can dip these things in water, and you can apply a watery sort of surface, or you can do them hard and then put water on it. In other words, you can come in here and draw your lines in here, and then end up adding water to it to help it out. So, so if I want to create some crevices on these things here, and so forth. So I'm just this is a wonderful experiment. Very loose, very loose watercolor painting. I've got some homes up here, and we're going to do one of two things. We're either going to make them lighter, or we're going to end up. We can make them lighter by putting more dark around it, or vice versa. So if you take a look at my little lighthouse out there, for instance, we could probably, I wonder if this could, let's see something here. Actually, I don't know if this is going to work. This is an eraser. Nope, it's not going to do anything. All right. What am I looking for? What am I looking for? What do we want to do here? I'm not sure that this is really doing what I need it to do. So maybe I can come in with a little bit of water and carve out some of this white a little bit more. Not sure if this will even pick up. Probably maybe I may have to wait a bit on this to let it dry first before I can lift that out. So if I were to come in here and add maybe some heavier pigment, pick that up, give it a little bit of an impression of a little bit of more form around that, and probably actually even in here. All right. Don't particularly, I think I want to add a little bit more of this greenish color. I don't like to change that a little bit. I want to make sure that there's a lot of this harmony in these values and colors. All right, so we're gonna come in here, and although we have a little bit of change in here, we're just going to end up coming in here and adding a little bit of that to it, that little bit of that greenish stuff that's going on in the background. I'm going to make some of that a lot thicker too, by the way. And we're just going to end up doing the same thing. See, we'll do some of this. All right. So we got waves coming in from the background. We've got this real sudsy sort of interesting stuff that's going on here. Let's Get this very, very, very. I'm going to start to just sort of put some of this in. The only way that I can make, if I can't lift that out, so I'm going to have to make this a little bit more of a shadowed effect in here. This is very watery, by the way. And what I'm doing is I'm mixing up a little bit of opera with a little bit of lavender in here. And just adding some value to some of those areas in there. Ooh, wow. That's a little too much there. So we have some backfill in here. And you know what happens is that because it's so wet, it's drying lighter. So what ends up happening all the time, and as this goes on and on, this is just I can't help it. You just go through the process of chasing the darks. That's certainly okay. Fresh, free flow. Well, the sky's not quite as dark as I wanted it to be, but we're just going to have to leave that alone. We'll just end up coming over here and adding a little of something behind these homes, make it a little darker. Okay. The lighthouse off in the distance. Okay, so let's get darker still back there. So I'm just making this cliff-like back here. Again, I use the resource, the photograph, to work from, but I don't necessarily copy it. All right. So we've got nice landmass that's back there. Now let's see if we can get a little bit more going on over here. In terms of our rock structure, some really interesting areas that we're going to darken up. We're going to sort of darken some of this stuff up here. Nice series of rocks. I want to definitely bring this more here. You know, okay. So we got the waves coming in here. Let's see if we can lighten this up a bit. some water. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to start to bring water down here too. We have a rock structure here, so we can start to look at just water in here to help to create crevices and whatever. And the same way with all of this stuff over here. We're just going to end up probably helping this along a little bit. Okay, a little bit more defined. A little bit more defined. Maybe some of this stuff has been brought up there. I'm trying to create a realistic wave structure here. Right. It's still a tad on the wet side, but now let's get some major darks in there. And right in here we should really have even a darker darker areas where those waves are breaking. Breaking, Tony, breaking, not breaking. All right, and let's just do the same thing. Some of these out here. Add a little bit of that stuff to it, just maybe a little bit of blue. Soften this down a little bit. All right. Okay. Okay, so we got a series of rocks over here, and I think basically we're close to being finished here. We just have to let this dry out a little bit more. Let me just put a little bit of shadow out here. Where do we want it now? We'll just put it right here. That little something. And start to take a look at maybe Okay, we have to let this dry a bit. Oh, gotta let it dry. Yeah, this paint's no good. Throw that paint away. So, what I'm doing is just going to be enhancing this a bit with a little bit of white. Now, what's going to happen here is that putting this white on is not going to be white as long as this is wet, damp, because what's going to happen is it's going to gray out. See what I mean? So it's not going to be a strong white. I've got to totally let this thing dry out first before I do anything like that. You know, these highlights, for instance, little house. Couple of homes over there. And what I want to do is create some water trails, Now I missed this. This is all filled in. We need to get some of this. Some of this has got to be white. So when it dries, we'll deal with this. See how this is all graying out? As long as it's wet, then I can't get that nice white, like, oh, let's say the water's breaking on here and it's dribbling down, you know, the water's just sort of coming down this way, you know, or into this area here. Water has a way of finding its own. You know, follows the cracks. All right, we'll let it set for a bit. See how this works out. And I'll get back to you guys. Okay, so just to finish this up, so let's just get let's get a little bit of a dark area out here. And oh my, look at the shadow. Wow, where did that come from? Back this off maybe. So a couple of strokes, just and we'll come in here a little bit. And just to give it a little bit of change, a little spray going up there. And I'm just going to come in here and there's a couple of trees up here. We have maybe a little dark area around this building over here. It's not much. It's not as if I want to pull a building out. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to give this just general feeling of something being there. I don't want you to necessarily see it. This is just sort of the calligraphy that needs to take place in some cases. Just to help that out. My rocks. I'm going to do a couple of things here. A few darks. And I'm not going to worry too much about any of this stuff over here. Just going to put in a little bit of a wash under here, a little bit more. With just a bit more feeling of a little shadow under there. And those are hard lines, so we want to soften this up. somewhat. And some of it I'm not even going to bother with. And this is the area right here. Oops, sorry. Let me just soften this. Let's come in here and we're just going to that's good. Just a couple of breaks here. Let's forgive the shadow. Tried some different lighting. Okay. And a little bit heavy, but it's okay. Create a little bit more interest in the rocks. Shadow there, shadow there. Okay, so now let's get some white in here. Like I said, normally I don't use it, but we're going to do it here. And why? Because I want to get the feeling of a little bit of water that's filtering down here, splashing up. And a little bit of that, and then we'll just soften out some of it. The other thing is that when I do this, let's say I take this water, and we're going to come down here, right? This way, it's going to drip down here. Maybe come across here and down. It also helps to create the illusion, or helps with the illusion of the rocks. For instance, if I do this here, you see they'll tends to drip down in the side of the rock. Just a few lines here and there, nothing major. Maybe we'll put one right here. Let it follow the rock here, down and then down. Just a little few lines. I'm going to make okay. Enough. Very enough. That's enough. We need any more? Nah, I think we're good. Okay, anyway, that's going to be it. My painting. this. Enough. Too much water, not too good. I'm going to try this another way at some point. I have another idea as to how to approach this for all this splash stuff that goes on. Doesn't want to do that, too thick. Well, I'll have to test this out a little bit later. There you go. Spray, need it a little bit. Okay, that's it. Gives it that added feel of splash. Well, thank you for being with me. I'm your host, Tony Visco. Until the next time,